It's Friday, May 23rd. No deal. Canada Post and their workers remain apart as the union moves into a legal strike position. Workers will stay on the job, but they are refusing overtime.
In all honesty, it's how do you overcome this? Like, this is such a loss.
Evacuees from Lac du Bonny are seeing ash and debris where their homes once stood as they look to rebuild from the devastating wildfires.
Let's talk.
So, what are we going to talk about now?
We can talk.
So Google is showing off its new AI video generator, which has people both impressed and a little worried.
One back for the Frost. It's Steckline, walks in, Thompson, lets a look, in front, Phillips, they score!
Late drama, the Minnesota Frost scoring in overtime to beat the Ottawa Charge in Game 2 of the Walter Cup Final. Stay with us, Canada. Your morning starts right now. Good morning, Canada. Welcome to Your Morning. I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
Good morning. I'm Lindsey Deluce.
And I'm Michelle Jobin. We hope your day is off to a great start. Kelsey is away today.
I know, Michelle, I was like, I haven't seen you in so long.
A while. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's talk Canada Post to start. Everyone's wondering, waking up this morning, what's happening. So new this morning, Canada Post is not on strike yet, but they are technically in a legal strike position. So what does this mean for you? Well, you can still send and receive letters and packages for now, but there are some slight changes that took effect at midnight. So the union, representing 55,000 workers, will refuse overtime. Members are being called on to refuse any work beyond 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. The two sides did meet Thursday night ahead of this midnight strike deadline, but it was reportedly short. It was unproductive. They say negotiations and negotiators will keep reviewing the latest offer from Canada Post. Workers at the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board have walked off the job.
We are having a toxic workplace culture that's impacting our ability to serve the injured workers of Ontario. We have high caseloads.
The WSIB provides support for workers who have been hurt on the job in Ontario. Workers have been without a contract since the end of April. Key issues are pay, workload, and union representation. The WSIB says it will keep processing claims and paying out support during these rolling strikes. The union says, this is interesting, this is the first time workers have ever walked off the job in more than 100 years at the WSIB. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne says the G7 finance ministers are unified after this week's meeting in Banff.
So there's no doubt that there's discussion around that policy of tariff by the United States, but I would say there's also a very constructive discussion about what's the way forward.
Trade is only mentioned once in this joint statement that was released. There was no mention of tariffs. All 7 finance ministers signed this statement. It includes a new call to action on financial crime. It also includes a commitment to assess the risks of a rise in low-value shipments to G7 countries from China and a commitment to support Ukraine. Minister Champagne also says the statement lays the groundwork for next month's G7 summit in Kananaskis. The White House, by the way, has confirmed U.S. President Donald Trump will be at that G7 Leaders Summit in Alberta next month.
President Trump will travel to the G7 Leaders Summit in Canada from June 15th through the 17th.
The Prime Minister's office did signal that President Trump would be at the summit after their White House meeting earlier this month. The G7 Summit, as you just heard, runs from June 15th to June 17th. Prime Minister Mark Carney's Chief of Staff, Marco Mendicino, will soon leave his position. The former Toronto MP and Public Safety Minister had been appointed to serve, at least for the transition period, after Mark Carney won the Liberal leadership and became Prime Minister in March. In a statement, the Prime Minister says he's asked Mendicino to stay into the summer to support the launch of the government's mandate in Parliament. Several sources, though, confirming to CTV News that Mendicino is also seriously considering a bid to run for mayor of Toronto. Toronto's next municipal election is scheduled for October of 2026. People in Manitoba are describing the damage left by the wildfires as they return home this week.
Yeah, that was our sea-doo over there and our dock. Then we had our kitchen, which was right here.
Oh, it's just devastating. It was more than a week ago when fire ripped through the community of Lac du Bonny. On Wednesday night, the evacuation order was lifted on the area that was hardest hit by the wildfire. Now that people have been returning back, the attention turns to the recovery. Last night, there was a special council meeting to talk about how much the damage is going to cost, which is believed to be in the millions of dollars. Community officials will go over those estimates today in a meeting with the province. Google has taken a big step forward with its new AI video generator, and that has some people worried.
I got chills down to the base of my spine when I first saw this because the usual tells that AI generated this video were nowhere on display.
From sci-fi epics to musicals about garlic bread, Google says its VO3 software can turn any idea into lifelike video. Okay, my brain is trying to compute when I'm looking at it. Keep in mind, public text to video technology has only been around since 2022. So for now, clips from the generator are up to 8 seconds long. That's it. Google says it does embed invisible markers to say if a video is AI generated. Right now, the program is only available in the US for users of Google's Ultra subscription tier. Denmark has pulled off one of the biggest upsets in the history of the men's World Hockey Championships.
Off the boards with it is Jensen, shoots it, rebound, score! Olsen!
Denmark knocking Canada out of the WIHF World Championships in front of a home crowd Thursday. Canada held a 1-0 lead late, but Denmark scoring twice within 2 minutes to take the lead, and they never looked back. Tough loss for Canada, who had a roster featuring major stars like Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Four Nations face-off hero Jordan Binnington in net. The Walter Cup final is now all tied up at 1 game apiece.
Now Channel Watkins wants to be that for Minnesota. A chance here. They score! Carl Salemi does it again!
Yeah, Minnesota Frost rookie Carl Salemi scoring both the game-tying goal and the overtime winner as they beat the Charge 2-1. Tough loss for Charge fans to take, really, as Carl Salemi is not the most popular player thanks to her aggressive play and some divisive social media posts in the past. The 25-year-old was actually booed every time she touched the puck. The game was tied at 0 well into the third before Jocelyn Larocque scored her first goal of the playoffs to take a 1-0 lead with just 2:35 left in regulation. But a poorly timed penalty shortly after that gave Minnesota a chance on the power play, which they scored on to send the game into overtime. Game 3, by the way, of the Walter Cup final goes tomorrow in Minnesota. Some Calgarians are feeling conflicted as their rival Oilers look to win their first Stanley Cup in 35 years.
All my friends are going to give me a hard time about wearing an Oilers jersey, but being the only Canadian team that's left in the playoffs, we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, what do? That's Trevor Smith. He's a bar manager in the city. He's going all in on the Oilers this spring, hoping they can end Canada's Stanley Cup drought. Other people are saying, nope, I can't do it. I don't care if it's a Canadian team. I can't switch my allegiances.
As someone that grew up in a household that supported the Maple Leafs, you always had to have another Canadian team to default to. That's just the way it is. You're loyal to the Leafs, but then you have another one.
So you're loyal to the Leafs, and then you have like a playoff team.
Then you have a playoff team.
That's funny.